Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another episode of Kerbal Space Program. Little trick here, if you're trying to record it for YouTube, if the audio cuts out, you're going to crash. Just a little trick there. I have learned. I try to record something, I walk away from the game. Something about either alt-tabbing or something else just makes it crash when I come back and hit the record button. And it is the second I hit the record button, so that's some weirdness. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this game. We're playing Kerbal Space Program, training to the moon. Last episode we broke the scenario in a completely different way. We couldn't get to the point where it would have guided us properly to land on the moon. But that's alright, we're going to start from the moon, I think, in this second part of To the Moon and try to get back home with probably a little bit more gas than what we had anyways. Notice that in the training mission here, there have been 2 crashes already. And I really would have liked, specifically in the training missions, if it was just impossible to crash. If it just controlled everything, if you tried to do something different, even more. I'd also like for it to work, and perhaps in the last episode I was not doing what it was actually asking me to do because I was confused or didn't understand the long paragraph of instructions. So I'd like that to do it. You have to put a lot of guidance in the training mission. You have to basically dumb it down to as easy as possible. Anyways, let's begin. Welcome to the moon. I trust you managed to land your ship alright, but here we are now. I'd like you to examine the ship very carefully. Its bare-bone design of a lander. It contains all that you will need to land and get back to Kerbin. Okay, let's get your crew back home. So, this is a pretty basic lander. It's got just a rocket, some landing feet, and the crew thing. You could do a crew report from the moon, which would usually get your crew. You could do an EVA report, and from there do an EVA report, fly above. You could go get a surface sample. Let's see. Jebediah Kerbin. Here we go. Take surface sample. That's from very high up. Maybe he has a long grabby hand. EVA report again. All of these not actually getting us any science because they've already been fine. Let's get back into it. Bored anyway. Dumping experiments. They're all worthless to us anyways. So now it's time to get back home. If you can find it, you can retract the ladder here. The ladder is very unique because it's this collapsible thing that comes out, and that's the whole ladder right there. Just comes out, extends, and goes all the way down. Well, at least quite far down. It doesn't go much further than the length of this ship, actually. Before you do that, let's seize the opportunity to do a little moonwalking. Hover your mouse over the thing, hit the EVA button. In this case, the ladder is already deployed. Okay, so they really do want us to moonwalk. Alright. So, EVA. And we'll go down as the ladder is going down. And so, you can jump on the moon, but it's very dangerous. Grab the ladder as we're falling, because you can get very far. Climb out. Climb out of what? What is it? Okay. Climb out. Whatever that means. Let's just board the ship. Space, let go. Be board. I slid. There we go. Off we go then. There are things on the moon, but that's not what this training is about. Plus, we can't get any science for our permanent game anyway, so what's the point? Getting back to Kerbin works very much in the same way as getting from Kerbin to the moon. Hopefully not as crashy at the end, but it's always a lot easier because the gravity on the moon is lower and there's no atmosphere. Notice we are 3,500 meters from the quote-unquote center of the moon. We're on the surface of it. You're never going to get down to zero, so you have to keep that in mind. If you're 13,000 meters up, you might be really only 10,000 meters up. Also, the moon is very rocky, so there are some very high points and very low points. So you could go 1,000 meters in both directions, which typically in Kerbin you don't have to deal with that. What you have to do now is start all the way up and orient your ship towards Kerbin. In this particular case, just below the horizon, around 270 degrees. Once you've properly oriented, open your map view and keep running until the orbit leaves the moon's soul. This is a problem I've noticed in previous versions of Kerbal Space Program. They're calling the Kerbin's sun soul when it should just be called sun, unless soul means something else and put you inside Kerbin's soul. What does that mean? I guess that soul means something. If you're gonna use these big words, you need to like be able to hover over them and understand them. I mean, I have no idea. As soon as this happens, hit X to cut throttle and not waste any more fuel. Alright. So, where is Kerbin? What we want to do is aim directly for Kerbin here. Say that's 270 degrees. Let's lift off. We'll retract our gears. And then 270 degrees, I believe. This way. Am I going the right way? Focused on where we should be focused though. So we're heading towards Kerbin, and we're going to be completely throttled up. We're trying to use as little gas as possible. Now, we're just going to wait for an escape velocity, and then we're going to hit X. Throttle all the way up and towards Kerbin in a particular thing, heading around 270. Once you're properly opened your map view and keep running until the orbit leaves the moon's sphere of influence. Maybe that is SOI. That would make more sense. Sphere of influence is a phrase, yes. But if you just say SOI, that looks like SOL to me. Soul. As soon as this happens, hit X and cut your thought. Not to waste. That's right. Your current trajectory will put you under Kerbin's sphere of influence. Well, gee, you gotta spell it out the next screen. From there, you should already know what to do. But for now, let's just wait until we get to Kerbin orbiting. Let's see. The moon escape. Let's warp here. You may use time warp at your discretion. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I did not ever play with this warping in this fashion where you can click somewhere and actually warp. There we go. Let's see, let's go ahead and stop warping now. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, he's warping me. Oh great, now, okay, now you're gravitationally bound to the Kerbin platform. Here's child's play to get back. First put yourself in a circular orbit of less than 300 kilometers radius. Remember what you learned in the previous lesson. Alright, so we have a huge 9 million parapsis here and a 20 million apparatus here. So let's add a maneuver and go retrograde until we are closer to, let's see, he said 300 kilometers? That's still a million. That's an 11-second burn, by the way. There we go, that should be fine. So, we're gonna warp to this point. No. Oh, look here. Let's just take a moment to talk about what this is going to do. I'm actually going to run back into the moon and run into some crazy thing I don't want to actually have happen. So it's still probably about 3 hours from where we would typically be, but I'm gonna do this a little dirty. I'm going to orient myself in the position I want to fire in and just start firing now. Now this is 11 seconds at full throttle, so you can definitely slow down. And you definitely probably want to slow down and just do this as slow as possible. It will help a lot. We are slowing ourselves down in actual speed by quite a lot. Watch this, we're at 3 million, it's very fast. And it's barely throttled up at all. Now this is how I get into a circular orbit from a very large orbit, is you get one close to where you want it to be, maybe a little bit above it, and then, let's see, just adjust a little bit, and then from that point you're going to slow down to circularize your orbit. If we could do this all in one movement. It moved 600, 500, 550. I want to actually be under 300. Is not really gonna hurt. So we can do this all in one movement. It's not gonna hurt one bit. And there we go, that's close enough. So from there we can get rid of this maneuver node, since I barely am even following them, really. Let's see. We're gonna just warp here. And I'm not even gonna bother to use the maneuver node. I'm just gonna start firing. that's the wrong direction. That expanded the orbit. Often you will find yourself making that mistake, at least I will. So very quickly this starts to come down. Notice you don't get the estimated time when you don't put a maneuver in or anything like that. Still at 9 million. Speed up a little bit. And I'm just burning prograde, just slowing myself down. Notice I am very fast at the moment. That's why I would loop out to 5 million right now, is because I'm going at a very fast speed. If you wanted to land most efficiently, I would have lowered this to about 70,000 kilometers. So I skimmed just the top of the atmosphere. They say it's 60, but I'd still probably go about 70. And you don't want to hit the thick part of the atmosphere. You just want to barely for a second touch it. And then do one loop, it will slow you down. Then you do another loop and it will slow you down. And each time you loop, you will gradually, ever so slowly, be reducing directions. You are encouraged to use maneuver nodes. Well, you may miss your targets if you overdo it. Didn't make it. If I'd used maneuver nodes and tried several times, I would have made it. So we're coming in hot again. We're about to use the last of our fuel. And that's it. That's my fuel. I only got up to 400,000. Let's see. Double click on the planet and zoom in. So I'm going to crash somewhere about here. It says right here, but the atmosphere will slow me down some more, and it will be somewhere about halfway here on the Earth. And there's really nothing I can do about it. That was the only thing I could have done. That was less my fuel. So we can activate this stage and decouple it and get rid of it. We don't need the lander. Being lighter will be easier to slow down. So I could hit spacebar and activate the stage, but we can also just right click the decoupler, which is always useful in case you want to do something different. So now I'm lighter. I can take a crew report, and then they're gonna say we're all gonna die, and we know it. So point myself in the opposite direction I'm going to fall, and we can't do much. We can just speed up and try this. You have your pressure here, your parachute, and it has two settings: a minimum pressure of 0.01 atmosphere, I think is the measurement, and then an altitude of 500. And you could change that, but the default settings are probably the right settings. You can't deploy it, interestingly enough. You probably can't deploy it because we're warping. You can deploy it if you're not warping. Yep. So they take away options. Same here, you can't do a crew report or anything while you're doing this. We are going to come in amazingly fast. So let's see. Once we get about halfway here, I guess the only thing I can do is try to release the parachute, but if I release the parachute, it's gonna burn up. Typically I put more than just the default parachute in the this is facing directly towards Kerbin. This is facing directly away from it, and this is the direction we're spinning. So adjust ourselves that way again. We're still very, very high at 200,000 meters, but that's the problem, is we're coming in at a breakneck speed. Watch the G-force meter here. This red section is the deadly section that will occasionally kill your pilots. Right click that. The level at which we can break these training scenarios is too high, though. This is too high. They don't give you a revert. They don't quick save enough. We're below 70,000 down to warp 1. We're going a ridiculously high meters, very fast meters per second, 2,000 meters per second. The only thing we have to slow us down is our pilots. We're getting into the atmosphere. We're not burning up. Now we're burning up. Let's see. Wouldn't be surprised if we blow up here. Oh look, we triggered re-entry. Great. At least the parachute. We're at deadly G-force here. He is definitely feeling it. Gemini. We're slowing down. We're down below 500 meters per second. I haven't deployed the chute. I just deployed the chute. Wow. I must have had a stage and I wasn't ready. This might work. This might actually work. Let me zoom out here so we can see the parachute. It is uninflated at the moment. It doesn't inflate until 500 meters, but it is adding drag, and that drag is if you manage to land back in, I hope you took notice of where it is. So if you want to be really fancy, he's challenging you to land back at where you started, which is quite a difficult task. Our G-forces are down. We are barely below, we are below 100. When this inflates, it gets down even slower. We're down to like 5. We've made it. We got really, really lucky. And a lot of it is luck. I will say it is luck. I'm not going to, for a second, to say that there was any skill there. That was luck. This parachute didn't tear up. It probably would have torn up if it had been deployed when I thought I wanted to deploy it. It's real important you start learning, or at least look up on the internet, the right altitudes to release things and release parachutes and when to do it. Conclusion, you've made it to the ground safe and sound, and that's what matters the most. This concludes the tutorial, and I think you're ready to start taking on your missions. We did it! Sweet, sweet ground. Crew report from the grasslands. So I cannot believe we made that. One thing I want to point out is because they're making planets, they don't really texture the areas that well. So some places have trees, but you can't even run into the trees or crash on them. And then the grasslands here is just a simple grassland texture. And that's all it is for pretty much the entire area. It's asking a ton of work that there'll be cities and roads and animals and all of that. And it's like Skyrim, just full of stuff when the game is centered around flying around the planet. But I wouldn't mind if they could figure out something better, because this is just so empty. It makes it feel like the planet only has a few thousand people on it. So, but whatever, it doesn't matter. That is not really part of any of the game. It's just a personal critique. So you click recover vessel, and you get your parts back that then you didn't leave in space, which means you get some money back, and your guy gets some experience, and you're ready to take on another mission. Unfortunately, since this is a scenario, we can't take on any more missions. Everything is closed, but that's pretty cool. Anyways, so we did it. At least I landed one. I was afraid I was going to go 3 episodes with just crash landing. And we did get off the rails, definitely, up for a point there, but we managed to pull it back. Next time we're going to try docking. That'll be an interesting, yet difficult task. Docking is very difficult. And then we have asteroid redirect mining part 1 and part 2, which I've never even tried that. And then, let's let's see. I guess I'll try these scenarios, but I no guaranteeing I'm gonna run them. And then at the end of that last scenario, station 1, I'm gonna announce whatever I decide as far as playing this game. I think I know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna think about it some more before I say. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps me out. If you want to support me, there's 2 ways you can do that. One is clicking on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Or you can click on the Amazon.com affiliate link in the description and just shop normally. If you want to follow me or friend me on practically any social media, that information is down below also. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.